Hello. Hi, Stevie. Good morning, everyone. Cindy, good to have you here. Jeannie, oh, we missed you on Tuesday, so good to have you here. Even if I can't see you, I know you're there. Shannon, nice to have you as well. Hello. I think I'm going to come off of this, I feel too. I feel like I look like Alice in Wonderland that took the pill that made her big. How are you doing today, ladies? This is our second class of this new series. So teaching from that format of the 4 weeks that I work with Torrance Memorial. And this is our third, actually, did I say second? Third. So we will have one more class next week for the year. So that will be the 16th of December, will be our last Yoga for Osteoporosis class of 2020. And then, so if you have not already signed up for my newsletter, I plan to send out 12 healthy habits for the holidays beginning on the 12th. And each day will be a new habit to implement into your life. And some of them have a video attached with them. So I recommend that you go to DebbieRobinson.com, www.DebbieRobinson.com, sign up for my newsletter, and you will receive the 12 healthy holiday habits. So if anybody would like to let me know how they're doing here, how you're feeling, or what's going on with you in particular this week, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. I think today I would like to do the 12 poses that are a part of the first practice that Dr. Fishman put together. And this is the one that's the most studied with the more proven results aspects. So I'd like to focus on those 12 poses today. And as usual, I do not like to just go into the practice and to have a cold body coming into the practice. So there'll definitely be a warm up to get our bodies nice and warm and ready. And Joyce, hello, nice to have you here. So we can all just visualize everyone because we all practice together. So just that we're all in our own space, that there is a separation physically of you're in your home, I'm in mine, yet we're still here together at this moment. So there's something really amazing to me about that there could be so many miles between us all, yet we're all going to be doing the same thing at the same time. And that's really lovely. So I would like to begin. And so for today's practice, let's see. So for today's practice, I'd like you to have a block. And if you don't have a block, you could use a blanket. I'd like you to have a strap. This could be a belt from your closet or from a robe or something like that. A blanket is always a beneficial prop to have. So get a blanket and we'll begin. We'll warm up the body first and then go through the series, the 12 poses. So we would also need a chair today and or a wall would be helpful. Okay, so let's first, so the beginning, I'd like to do a little warm up of our body, getting ourselves to arrive at this present moment. And I would like to use a blanket to help to gently open up the chest. And we're going to begin by warming up the chest and directing the breath to the chest. So if you take a blanket and you have your blanket pretty long like this. So if you did this with a shorter blanket and you folded it, you're going to get a much bigger opening in your chest. And depending on what your range of motion is in this part of your spine, be careful. Because if you do too big of an opening, sometimes there can be too much of a pull on some of the chest muscles and shoulder muscles. So find whatever is appropriate for you. And the more narrow you fold this, the bigger the opening is. And that may be okay for some of you. So hopefully you have enough body awareness to know what's appropriate for you. And because this is an osteoporosis focus class, we're going to come to the side and not round the spine when we bring ourselves down onto the floor. Bringing yourself all the way down onto the floor, and the prop that's behind your back here, that rolled up blanket, goes right where the heart is. This is the least flexible part of your spine, thoracic 5, 6, and 7, right behind the heart. It has the least amount of range of motion. So let's get to that place. And then the arms are up and over the blanket, and that's important as well. Let's arrange the head. So if you need something else underneath your head, you may need another blanket of some sorts. Go ahead and put something very mild under there. That would be if you had too much strain behind your neck. So noticing here if you have a lot of pull or strain on your neck. And you want to be comfortable. You want to feel a sensation though here as you bring your arms out to the sides. So you may experience something in the back of the body. You may experience a sensation at the chest or where the arm attaches to the body. Have your head nice and long, and begin with your knees bent and your feet are flat. So let's begin here. You'll feel a lot of pressure on the sacral area. So you'll feel that connection of the base of the spine here in the floor. And closing the eyes, feeling the length of your spine. This is a restorative yoga pose. And when we use props, that helps to put the body in a supported position and allow whatever the prop, the intention of the pose or the prop is. In this case, we're trying to add some supported extension in the spine and deeply stretch muscles of the thoracic spine where the ribs are attached that may have become tight. And then there's a mineral component of some calcification that may take place in the body as the body tries to protect or create more surface area for the vertebra once they move off of alignment. So a lot is being done here. Let the feet be wider than the body. Let the knees fall in towards each other and let them rest towards each other. So something you'll need to find in your body. There's not a specific location of where should my feet be. It's your feet should be where they feel the best and they feel like they should be there. When you're in this position, let's start to expand the ribs using the breath, feeling the breath start to move and warm up and stretch the torso and the spine. So we're going to use the breath to start to stretch some of these small muscles that are in the joints of the spine. The muscles of respiration that help to expand the rib cage and draw the diaphragm downward on the inhale. And then we'll focus on a little extra exhale. So when we breathe, the inhale is the voluntary action. That's where the body is actually active on the inhale. And the exhale is more of a passive aspect or function. So closing the eyes, breathing in through the nose, feel your lungs expand in your chest and be very curious here to feel the upward movement, the movement at the sides, the movement down, and the movement backwards. And just notice what you notice here. Notice if the breath goes on the right side, same amount as the left side. Be curious, not judgmental, just noticing as if you were a witness to where you are in your life right now and your patterning of breath, in the functionality of breath, and in the functionality of the neuromuscular communication of the body to stimulate both sides evenly. Now I'd like you to exhale, squeeze all the breath out of your body actively. Inhale. Pause at the top and slowly, slowly, slowly let the exhale leave your body. When you get to the end of the exhale, squeeze all the breath out of the body. Squeeze, compress, and then allow that inhale. And see how deep that inhale becomes when you spend extra time focusing on compressing and squeezing out the exhale. So let's focus now on the 6 movements of the lungs. In case you were able to notice any asymmetry in your body or more function in one area than the other. The lungs move in 6 ranges of motion: outward, backward, to each side, down towards the feet, and up towards the head. We'll spend a little time in each one of these areas, fully stretching the muscles of respiration and the muscles of the chest, the torso, the spine, bringing your awareness to the fact that this is actually something that happens in our lungs. It can happen and should happen to have optimal functionality. So let's take a breath to clear. Exhale. Begin inhaling to the front of your chest, breathing up towards the sky as much as you can, feeling that going all over the front of the chest. Finishing at this last breath to the front of the chest. Now breathe to the sides of your body, keeping your eyes closed, feeling the sides of the body expand outward. Bringing your awareness to the sides. Feel like you're literally breathing out the sides of the lungs like a fish with gills. Let's bring the awareness now to the back of the spine, back of the lungs, back of the ribs. As you breathe in, breathe back behind your heart. Feel the back of the lungs as they fill up, pressing up against the back rib cage towards the blanket behind your spine or the floor. Bring your awareness now to the upper lobes of the lungs, by the clavicle bones below the throat.
And as you breathe in, allow the breath to come up towards the head. Feel that lift and that expansion on the entire top of the lungs. Last breath. Down to the lower lobes of the lungs. Feel the entire lower perimeter of the lungs all the way around, the front, the back, the sides. Feel that downward movement towards your legs. Two more breaths like this. Giving the breath back to the body, becoming a witness and noticing the breath moving. Begin to slide the arms up a little higher, deepening that stretch, the armpit area, shoulder area, only going to the place where you feel a deep, appropriate stretch coming into your body. Allow the arms to rest. Take the legs straight out. Go one leg at a time to make sure the low back is okay with this. And then if you're able to come here, if you feel any tension, you could try spreading the legs a little wider or coming back to bent knees. And then reach the arms overhead, reach the toes long. Stretch your body glove. And if you do have a blanket behind your thoracic spine here, adding that extension in your spine, you may feel that this gives you a lot of access to stretch the postural muscles of the spine, especially this thoracic spine, shoulders. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bend your legs. Let's roll on to the right side. Cradle your head in your hand. Let's take a few breaths here to allow the settling of the spine after we did that extension position, and especially if you folded your blanket pretty high or you had something behind your spine that was pretty elevated. Giving those muscles a chance now to relax in this position. Then we're going to come up to a seated position, making sure we move safely. Take the hand on the floor. You're going to lead with your shoulder. So look down at that hand, push the hand into the floor strongly so you feel the activation of the muscles, the pushing muscles. As you push yourself away from the floor, lead with the shoulder, not the head. So instead of pulling yourself up with the muscles we usually use to pull, we're going to work more on pushing away from the floor. And we will come into a little bit of a warm up here to get the body ready. So for today's practice, this will be the 12 poses proven in Dr. Fishman's studies to improve bone density. And so you're going to need for this a blanket, a strap, and a block. And if you don't have these exact items, find something that represents this or symbolizes or is close to this. This could be whatever you have laying around your house. Let's take that to the side. Take your blanket up to the top, the mat. Coming onto the tushy, you're going to come to the side because coming down is a very important part of the movements when you have
osteoporosis, not flexing or rounding that thoracic spine. Come to the side, reach your hand away to keep your back nice and flat. Come all the way down onto the mat. Take the blanket behind your head. We're going to come into a warming up the hips. Let's take the arms overhead, stretching your body. Inhale. As you exhale, draw the right knee into the chest. And then as you inhale, take the right knee to the right. Exhale, let's guide the leg over towards the left. Take your hand behind your thigh as you inhale, slowly unbend the knee, then point the foot, feel that stretch in the front of the foot as you lengthen that leg all the way down. Inhale, arms are overhead. Exhale, slowly draw that left knee in. Notice the tracking of the joints. Inhale to open that left knee to the left, and then bring the left leg across the body. Feel what's happening in your body. Inhale to straighten that leg. Point the toes as you begin your exhalation, lowering the leg down all the way to the floor. Inhale, arms are overhead. Exhale, warming up the flexion of the hip joint. Inhale, open the knee to the side. Exhale, and the muscles that move and mobilize that hip. Let's inhale to unbend, stretch the back leg, point the toes, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Warming up everything here. Inhale, last movement, arms overhead. Exhale, draw the knee in. Inhale to open, leg to the left, and then exhale to draw the leg across the body. Inhale to unbend that leg, straighten the foot, feel that stretch on the foot as you lower, 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 and then go ahead and bend your knees. Push your feet into the floor to lift your pelvis up in case you moved off alignment at all. Take your hands out to the side here in a scarecrow arm position. So notice where your upper arm bone is. Take your feet the distance of the mat, not off the mat, but the distance. Keep the soles of the feet on the floor. Keep the tushy on the floor as you begin to softly warm up the hips, not bringing this into the low back, not adding rotation in your pelvis yet, keeping it a little more centralized in that hip joint. And then bring yourself back to center. Go wide here all the way off the mat as you begin to let your legs go a little farther. Now the tushy cheek may come away from the floor. You're coming into the back of the body in rotation. So be in your body to feel if this feels appropriate. Warming up now from the pelvic area, coming up into the torso, starting to add spinal movements there, some of the core muscles. The next time that your knees come over to the left, allow them to stay there. Let them soften. You're not trying to touch the floor. You're trying to let your legs move towards the floor. And then activate that right hand. Reach the right hand away from you. Lengthen out the right side. Feel that stretch on your body. Create as much space as you can. Pressing the right hip up towards the sky. Pressing the heart up towards the sky to lengthen. Lengthen your right kneecap as far away from your right heel of your hand, the right wrist area. Reach, 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 stretch, stretch, stretch. Breathe into all parts of your lungs. And then let's, on the next exhale, come out of that. Slowly allow this movement to come into your body. So don't just throw your bag of bones around. Don't throw yourself into this. Allow your hip joint to roll into this, to lengthen and to contract into this movement. When you arrive to where you're going to end up, activate that left side. Flex the left hand, reach left hand away from you, reach that left kneecap away. Left hip joint up towards the sky, heart up towards the sky as you add a little extension or a back bend into your thoracic spine. Lengthen your body, gloves, stretch, stretch, stretch. Breathe into all areas of your lungs, front, back, sides, bottom, middle, top. And then bring yourself on the next exhalation back to center. Let's begin with the first pose, bridge pose. I'd like you to take a block between your knees here, moving the blanket away from the back of the head, and then lengthen the head, tuck the chin down towards the chest. Find that nice spinal alignment. Take the arms down alongside the body. You're going to squeeze the block between your knees to turn on the adductors. Posteriorly tilt the pelvis so the low back touches the floor. Contract the glutes.
Squeeze the block and begin to lift your body off the floor. If you're able to slide shoulder blades closer towards each other and clasp your hands so that none of your body is resting on the hands, don't look side to side. Keep your head looking straight ahead. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy. If you're able to clasp your hands, clasp your hands. And if you're not, bring your elbows on the floor, the upper arm bones on the floor. Fingertips are reaching up towards the sky. Palms face each other. Press your arms into the floor. Lift your rib cage away from the floor as much as you can. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy. Active glutes. So you're either clasping or you're bending your elbows. Squeeze the block, lengthen your knees away from you. Chin is moving towards the chest. Heart is moving up towards the nose. Feel that strength in the back of the body. Take one more breath. And then you're going to slowly bring yourself down. So with the bridge pose, I usually stay in a little longer than 30 seconds. One of my favorite poses for strengthening the body. Let's take the block, move the block off to the side, and roll all the way onto your tummy. Coming all the way on to your tummy. We're going to do the locust pose. Come here into the Sphinx pose. Elbows are underneath the shoulders. Lengthen your body nice and long. So bring some length into your spine as you lower all the way down. And then let the forehead touch the floor. The nose touches the floor. The arms are down alongside the body. Bring the legs so that the toes are about 3-4 inches apart. And on the inhalation, you're going to lift your upper body off the floor, lift your arms off the floor, and then lift the legs off the floor. And as you lift the legs off of the floor, roll the inner thighs up towards the sky, point the soles of the feet up towards the sky, reach fingertips away, reach long in your body here, reaching your legs off the floor, your upper body off the floor. Nice, long, lengthened position. If you'd like to come into a little stronger version, you could take your arms out to the side, either bending the arms like a scarecrow or taking the arms straight out to the side. Finding whatever aspect of the pose you'd like to feel in your body, whatever feels appropriate. So be in your body to feel the appropriateness of the pose. Reach long in your spine, reach up the toes, reach up the fingertips. Reach out the crown of the head, lift up towards the sky. Take one more breath. And then slowly lower all the way down. Let's take the hands, fold the hands, rest the forehead on the hands for a second, take the legs wide, and wiggle your pelvis back and forth side to side. So there's strengthening in the back of the body when we do this. And it's important to be in your body to notice what feels appropriate for you when you do this. Let's come back onto our backs. You're going to take your blanket back behind your head. And we're going to do the forward folds in the practice, which is the leg stretch. Take the strap. Let's put the strap on the right foot to begin. So bring the strap. Don't lasso your foot. Bring your knee as close as you can. Bring your foot as close as you can. Maintaining hip flexion and knee flexion is important, not only for osteoporosis. As we age, it's important to maintain range of motion in our joints. Take the strap at where the metatarsals begin, so right at the edge of the arch of the foot. And then if you'd like to lengthen the left leg, you can lengthen the left leg here. If you'd like to wrap your hands around the strap, bring the shoulder blades onto the floor and keep the legs straight. With osteoporosis work, when we're focusing on bone health, you want the knee straight here. So keep the knee straight, firm up the left leg, pressing it into the floor, firm up the right leg, hug the bones with the muscles. And then let's begin. Draw the leg back towards the wall behind you. Feel that strong sensation behind the upper back thigh. Make sure you're not shortening in your right waist, so don't let that right pelvis elevate up towards your head. Feel the buttocks on the floor, firming up the thigh, the right thigh. Deep breaths here. Feel that sensation. Let the breath go to where you feel the sensation. One more breath. And then go ahead and bend the knee. Let's bring the left leg. Actually, do the same thing on the left side. Take the strap off. Let's bring the left knee in. Bring the strap onto the left foot. Take the strap up towards the sky. Placement of the strap right where the metatarsals begin, where the arch ends. Take your hands around the strap. Shoulder blades are on the floor. Lengthening that right leg if you'd like, or keep that right knee bent. Up to you. Right away, firm up that right leg. Press that right leg into the floor and firm up the left thigh, hugging the bone, especially the upper thigh, the quadricep. Activate that. And then let's begin drawing that knee or that leg back towards the wall behind you. Kneecap faces backwards. Make sure you're not shortening your waist, your left waist. So create space in that waist as you draw that leg back towards the wall behind you. Last breath. Bend the right knee first. Let's take the strap off. Let's go into the Supta Padangusthasana number 2, which is the adductor stretch, pulling on the pelvis again. The tensile pressure we're creating here in these poses is we are stretching the adductors and pulling on the pelvic bone, and that will allow the pelvic bone to respond by laying down more bone for you. Take the strap in the right hand, slide your hand down, wrap your hand around the strap. Lengthen that left leg, firm up the left leg, and then you're going to lengthen your leg out to the side. So make sure it doesn't go forward. You lengthen out to the side. Let your right elbow rest on the floor. Firm up the muscles of the right thigh. Press into the arch of the strap. Left leg presses into the floor. You press into the arch of the strap. Feel that work. Make sure that your right waist doesn't get short here. So find that length in your right waist. Pressing into the strap. Feel that stretch in the inner thigh muscle here. Deep breaths. Feel the stretch. Feel your breath. And then your last breath. You could bend the knee or you could bring that back up. Straight leg. We're going to go to the other side. So bring the strap onto the left foot. Take the strap in the left hand, slide the hand down the strap. Straighten that right leg. Right arm can go to the side. And then you're going to lengthen out to the side with that left leg. Press your leg into the floor. Create space in that left waist. Press into the arch part of the strap. Feel that strong stretch of the inner thigh. Deep breaths here. Take one more breath. And then bend the leg or bring that leg back up to center with straight leg. Take the strap off. Bring your knees into your chest, rocking side to side. And let's rock all the way onto the right side. Using the hand on the floor, you're going to push away, leading with the left shoulder, bringing yourself up to a seated position. We're going to do the 2 seated twists.
So for this, I like to take the blanket and fold the blanket. Take the blanket, this will give you a little elevation, and then come to sit on the edge of the blanket. So the edge of the pelvis is near the front edge of the blanket, and the legs are straight. Reach down and grab a hunk of flesh. So reach down, grab a hunk of flesh, move it back, and that'll expose the sits bones and help you to sit a little more erect. Actually, we're going to need a block for this. Not all of you, but depends on whether or not you have long arms or not. And so I find for many, having a block to give a little spinal extension and lengthening can be very helpful here. So let's move towards the right side first. Go ahead and bend the right foot, bringing the right foot where the left inner knee is, or closer if you can. So find in your body what's appropriate. And then the block goes directly behind you. So when we come into this twist, you want to make sure your body weight is not back. And that's something I notice quite often in students, is that they are back farther, or when I work with people privately. So let's take your left hand on your right leg. Your block is behind you. Your hand goes on the block. You don't have to have the block. You could be on the floor as well. So find out what's appropriate for you. Left leg is straight. Firm up your core. So imagine you have a big juicy orange in your core. Contract your core, pressing your belly button back towards your spine, and then press your left leg into the floor, your right leg into the floor. Get nice and tall here. So before we rotate, it's very important to have core contraction for support. And when you press your feet into the floor, you turn on your posterior, your back body to support. And when we do this rotation, it's from the lower ribs on up that you want to rotate. So press your feet into the floor, get nice and tall. Inhale. As you exhale, rotate your lower ribs, your middle ribs, and your upper ribs. Lower the shoulders, slide the shoulder blades towards each other, press the heart forward, keep your chin parallel to the floor. You're nice and tall and lengthened, rotating around. Deep breaths down to your belly. Keep your shoulders low, away from the ears, slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Press that heart forward, take one more breath. And slowly, slowly, slowly on your next exhalation, you're going to unwind. We're going to go to the other side. So let's take the block behind you if you're using the block. Bend the left leg, straighten the right leg. When you straighten, you want to sit right out of your pelvis. You want your body, your spine to lengthen out of your pelvis. Take your right hand on your left leg. Press your right leg into the floor, and that will help to lengthen your body. Get nice and tall here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, press your foot into the floor, your leg into the floor, and on your exhale, rotate lower ribs, middle, and upper. Lower the shoulders, slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Nice and long here. Your back arm, your elbow is bent. Press your legs into the floor, your foot, active right leg. Rotate, rotate, shoulders lower. Press the heart forward. Feel that rotation in your body here. Breathing down to your belly. Take one more breath. And then you're going to slowly, slowly, slowly unwind to come out of that. Let's move on to the next twist. It's nice to have an elevation in the body here as well for this twist. So using a blanket, you're going to use a blanket on one buttock. And so one buttock will be on the blanket and the other buttock will be near the foot. Another thing to do is a block. So I'm going to teach this today actually with a block. So we'll take the block, and I'm going to start with my right buttock is going to be on the block. So if you're watching me here, there's a mirroring action that happens. So this is my right buttock. So let's go to the right side. Take your right buttock, put it on a block or a folded blanket, and then bend the knee and bring the heel underneath the tushy. And then you're gonna take the left leg across, and you're gonna sit nice and tall, so you're sitting right out of your pelvis. Your spine is coming right out of your pelvis. Make sure you're not pulling away or crunching up. Crunching, isn't that a nice technical term? Make sure that there's not a lot of contraction happening in this left side. So let your left pelvis be nice and heavy. Feel your left tushy on top of your right heel. Take your hands on your knees to get nice and tall here. And you're gonna bring your hand behind you to get that length in your body. You're gonna take an inhale, get nice and tall, and as you exhale, you're gonna rotate over that front knee. So we're gonna rotate to the left. Exhale, low ribs, middle ribs, upper ribs. Shoulders lower, neck is nice and long, shoulder blades slide towards each other. Feel space in the left waist. So space in the left waist. Using your arm to help, and then press your legs into the floor, your foot into the floor, so you feel that support of the posterior chain. Breathing down to your belly, feel what is stretching, creating a lot of stimulation in the hip here and in the spine. Take one more breath. And you're gonna bring yourself out. This practice creates a lot of stimulation in important areas where bone density really matters, and that's in the pelvis, either the femur bone, the top of the femur, the neck of the femur, the pelvic bone area, or in the spine. Let's take the block to the other side. Now it is the left buttock that is resting on the block or a folded blanket, you decide. And the left heel goes underneath the right buttock. So you've got to really play with this to see what's appropriate for your body. And then the right leg goes across. For some, being on the floor is okay, but I find that for many, they need some kind of support or elevation. And one side may be different to the next. So for me, actually, the block's a little too high here because I actually have a little asymmetry in my pelvis because I have a total hip replacement on one side and not on the other. So for me, the blanket may be better here. So you've got to play with what feels appropriate. Feeling that heel under the opposite buttock and then the support on the other side. Coming into this, find that alignment first. It's really important that your pelvis and your spine are in alignment. And it might take a little while for your body to feel okay with this when we start to put our legs in this position. You could use a block behind you or put your fingers on the floor. Get nice and tall here first. So find that length in your spine here. You're going to take a nice inhale to lengthen. And then as you exhale, you're going to rotate your low ribs, your middle ribs, and your upper ribs to the right. Pressing your feet into the floor, contracting your core. Imagine you're squeezing a big juicy navel orange towards your spine. Protecting that spine, and then feel whatever you feel. Notice what you notice. Be in your body to feel where is your appropriate place to go. So this is pulling on that posterior hip capsule. There's some tension in the rotational force on the spine. So feel what's appropriate for you. Lower your shoulders, press your heart forward, lengthen your spine as you add that rotation. Be in your body so you know what is appropriate and safe for you. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself, rotate out of that. So it's important that in this practice, we're creating this stimulation to the bones. And it's important for you to feel what's right for you. And no one else can determine that except for you. So you got to really develop this interoception, this body awareness, so that you can have that awareness of what's appropriate for your body and go where you should go safely. All right. I'd like to come up to standing from this position here. So first I'd like you to come up off the floor, take your wrists, roll your wrists around. And then I'm gonna share with you a safe way to move from the floor to standing. You're gonna bring a leg forward. It's important, we've done most of the practice so far. The first 6 poses were done either on the floor or in a seated position. So moving the body through that position and then to the next level, getting the blood to calibrate safely. Take the back toes, flip the back toes under, take the hands on the front leg. You can inhale, let your body weight go back, and then slowly come forward and push yourself to a standing position. And that's a nice, safe way to move up. One thing I wanted to note here is that I just bent down to get my blanket, and this is an important thing to know if you have osteoporosis. You want to make sure when you bend, you don't bend with your spine. So you don't reach down to get anything with your spine, that your bending takes place in the hip joint, flexing the hip joint. And if you have knee issues, widen your stance, be in your heels so that you'll really use the back of your body. Bend down. Wherever your head goes, your spine goes. So if you allow your head to look down, your spine is going to follow. So I like to look forward when I bend down to get something. And this is important because half of all the fractures occur in the spine, especially, or in particular, right here, T8 to L2. So this compressive force of forward folding is what contributes to that. So it's very important that we actually think about the way we move. It's not just about actually doing a physical asana practice to stimulate bone growth. It's also about how am I moving throughout my day so I don't contribute to the wrong force in the bones, which is going to create a fracture in the bones. So for the standing part of the practice, I recommend a chair or a wall, and you don't have to have those, and then also a block. So I'll teach all the different, or a few of the different options here that I find that most of those that I work with use. So let's take the chair here, and we are going to first do the triangle pose. That'll be our first standing pose. So face the seat of the chair towards you, and let's take the block on the floor. So when you bend down to put the block on the floor, you're going to bend your hip joint, be in your heels. Maybe new for some of you, this movement. I want you to think about this as we move through this. So let's come to a wide stance. Block is behind you, chair is near you. A wide stance. And if you're feeling precarious with balance, be near a wall. You can even have your tushy touching the wall so you feel secure. So if balance is an issue for you, do that. Let's take the toes forward, nice wide stance. Pick up the foot and keep the leg straight. Let the foot go under the chair so it's facing under the chair. You're parallel to the block. And then the back heel lifts up, back heel goes away. Active feet right away. So you want to feel all 5 toes touching the floor. The pinky toe edge like a karate chop, a very strong force as you actively turn on the hole over where over where your ankle is. Really turn that part of your foot on and make it very active. Keep your legs straight. Take your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. And then inhale to raise the arms. Keep them alongside your body. Make sure that they're alongside your body. Then you're going to look over those front fingers. Lift your arm up. Lift your armpit up. And then when you can't go any farther, you're going to come down onto the chair. So for some of you, chair may be where you need to be. Bring your arm up towards the sky. And then for others, if you're able to go a little lower, you could go ahead and put your arm on the block. The goal here is to rotate the trunk forward, press the feet into the floor, feel that stability in the low body, feel that stability in the spine. If you'd like to lengthen your arm up and over to the side, you can add the lengthening of the arm, or you can leave the arm straight up. So find what's appropriate. Keep the arm alongside your body or pressing backwards. Make sure the arm doesn't come forward. There's no flexion in your thoracic spine. Lift your arm up or rotate over. Press on that back pinky toe edge, lengthen out the side of the body, press both feet into the floor. Draw that energy up into your pelvis and then lengthen your pelvis straight out of your spine. Lengthen your spine straight out of your pelvis. Take one more breath. Keep the legs straight as you bring yourself back up, using the obliques, using the core to slowly lift you up. Let's go to the other side. Now, when we move slowly and thoughtfully in the practice, we keep ourselves safe, and slower is harder, a little bit more advanced, a lot more muscular action takes place when we move slow, and then we can stay safe, nice and safe in those joints. Take your legs nice and wide here, toes are forward. Let's pick the toes up, keep that leg straight as you point the toes under the chair. Lift the back heel, move the back heel away, And right away, strong, firm foundation in the foot. Feel that foot activate. Press the feet into the floor. Draw that energy up into your pelvis. Contract your core, so either zippering up or imagine compressing a big, large, juicy navel orange. Then you're going to shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, they're down. Reaching your fingers away. Feel like you're in a jar of honey, so there's resistance. And then reach. And when you can no longer go any farther, you take your hand on the chair and the other hand up towards the sky. Feel this in your body. Find your appropriate triangle. Maybe coming down onto the floor is available for you. Keep your arm alongside your body. Press your feet into the floor and draw that energy up into your pelvis. Feel what's appropriate. Arm can go overhead if you like. Active feet, active everything. Keep that front knee straight. That's important. I notice that some people bend the front knee. That's important to keep that knee straight, because not only are we adding compressive force here by pressing that leg bone into the hip capsule, we're also pulling and stretching muscles and pulling on bones, which creates another pressure, tensile pressure, and creating more bone stimulation that way. Take one more breath. Bring your arm back up to center. Keep your legs straight. Press your legs into the floor. Contract your core, and then lift yourself all the way up. So the standing poses are creating compressive weight-bearing force and tensile pulling when we do our rotational trunk work that we're doing. And here we were stretching muscles in the legs. Okay, we're going to go into the warrior two, and you could use a chair for this, especially if balance is an issue for you and you need to have a wide stance. So you could use the chair if you need. So of course, do whatever's appropriate for you. We're going to come into the warrior two. Wide stance here, so we get a nice deep angles in the hip joint to create stimulation. Let's go over to the side, lift the toes up, bring the toes to the side, and then lift the back heel. Strong foot foundation here, so like an eagle on a telephone pole or eagle on a flagpole where there's that contraction. I want you to feel that action. You press down and then your arches lift up and you activate the support of that kinetic chain. Take your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Slight bend in that front knee, pressing into that back foot. Feel like your arms are in a jar of honey as you bring yourself down into the warrior two. Come into the deepest flexion or the deepest bending you can take in your hip and your knee. And make sure that your knee is not over your hip. And make sure your body didn't go forward, your torso. So bring your torso right on top of your pelvis. And if you press down on that back foot, look over your middle finger. Press your arms to the side. Lift your heart up. Lengthen out your fingertips. And then load up your knee and hip joint in whatever's appropriate for you, creating all that pressure and tension in the joints to get your bones nice and strong. Press your feet into the floor, draw that energy up into the pelvis, contract the core, lift, lengthen the spine, heart lifts, arms are to the side. One more breath. And then you're gonna straighten the legs, point the toes forward, lift the opposite toes up, point the toes to the side, pick up the back heel, move the back heel away from you. Strong foundation on that pinky toe edge of the back foot, strong foundation in the front, slight bend in the knee, arms are in position, and then inhale, press away from that back foot so that you bend and you load into the hip and the pelvis. Stay here. The hip joint, pelvis, the knees, loading, creating that force. Deep breaths. Press your feet into the floor, draw that energy to the pelvis, contract the core, lift and lengthen your spine, press the heart forward, press the arms along the side of the body, lower the shoulders, lift the heart. And then take one more breath. Go ahead and unbend the legs. We're going to come into the side angle, which is the same leg position, different upper torso. So take the feet forward and pick up the toes, rotate the toes to the side, pick up the heel, move the heel away from you. And then slight bend in that front knee, arms in position, and then pressing away from that back leg. Let's come into the warrior two first. If you need to walk your toes forward, come where you need to be. Bending the front elbow, let's bring yourself into the side angle. When you make that connection of your arms, sometimes there's a collapse. So right away, push away and rotate your trunk forward. Turn your heart light forward. Take your arm up to the sky. Maybe you can load a little deeper here. And a little deeper, you can either bring the arm up overhead, lengthening out that entire side, or bring that arm on the inner knee joint to rotate the trunk forward. Press the feet into the floor, get nice and long here. Take one more breath. Keep the knee bent as you bring yourself back into your warrior two and then come all the way up. Let's go to the other side. Toes are forward. Pick the toes up. Turn that leg in the socket, coming into external rotation in this hip. And then the heel picks up, internal rotation in the back hip. Slight bend in that front knee. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. And then you press into the back pinky toe edge, coming into the deep knee and hip flexion. Bending the front arm, lengthen your torso as you come onto that front leg. And then right away, lifting and rotating, bring your arm up towards the sky. You could lengthen out the side if you'd like, really lengthening that entire side body from the pinky toe edge up the side of the leg. Length, 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 heart is forward. And then if you'd like to bring the arm into the inner knee joint, feel the power of the pose, side angle. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself back up to your warrior two. Let's come out. Let's take the legs. Go ahead and shake the legs. Just feel and notice what's happening in your body, all the stimulation that you have been creating in your body. Let's bring the chair back here and the block. So I like to teach the twisted triangle, which is really the humdinger of the practice, and creates a lot of stimulation, compressive force in the hip and rotational force in the spine, and a lot of pulling on the hip capsule, the posterior hip. So this is a humdinger, it has a lot in it. I will teach it away from the wall here, and when we are away from the wall, there's more balance. So if you have a chair, you could either use, let me show you for a second. So you could use the chair here where you have the back of the arm here, and this could be you a little higher. And otherwise, if you know that you have a pretty strong range of motion and flexibility in that front leg, you could actually bring a block onto the floor. So you are going to set up your chair depending on what you think your ability is. So if you have pretty flexible hamstrings, I find that for those, this position is the best. And if you know that you have a little tightness there, and you want to go a little more gentle, then having the chair here so you could be a little bit more elevated and do a little bit less hip flexion. So you decide which way you would like to set up the chair. I'll give a couple of options in this position here. So with the twisted triangle, we're going to twist and rotate over that front leg. And the stance is only about 2.5 feet here. So it's not as wide as the other stances we've been using so far. And before we come into this, I'd like to say that these are your hip lights. Right here where your hips are, this is your hip lights, and this is your heart light. And these are gonna move independent. My hip lights may stay forward, and then I'm gonna rotate my heart light. So in this, there's a lot of rotational force that we're applying to the hips and to the spine. So bring that front foot forward. That's gonna be the foot that you rotate over. So you're gonna bring the front foot forward, and both feet are pointing forward. Toes are pointing forward. Then you're gonna take your hands on your waist. You're gonna lengthen your spine. So push your feet into the floor and get nice and tall. Feel your spine coming straight out of the pelvis. As you flex forward in your hip, and you're probably gonna feel that in the back of the body. And then bring the hand onto the chair and diagonally. So you're gonna bring your hand towards the other side, whatever side you're rotating towards. You're gonna start that rotation happening here. Now maybe this is where you stay. So for some of you, you may stay here. For others, you may wanna come down onto the floor, onto a block a little deeper if you have that range of motion of flexibility in your legs. Then push your feet into the floor, both heels, everything stays on the floor, and then you rotate your trunk. So you lengthen your spine and rotate. If you'd like to open your arm, you could take your arm, palm faces forward. And then for some, if you'd like, you can turn your hand so the back of the hand goes onto the sacrum, and you lengthen and open up your shoulder that way. So that's helpful for some. So your hands on the waist, back of the hand is on the sacrum, lengthening and rotating towards that front leg. Keep your heels on the floor. Take one more breath. And then to come out of this, you're gonna bend that front knee. So take the tension out like that. Keep your head up so that when you come up, you keep your spine nice and straight. So that is a pretty strong pose, the twisted triangle. And there's many ways to do this up against a wall where you focus a little bit more on the upper body rotation, or you can focus on the lower. And this pose, it actually does flexibility, strength, and balance. So that's why I think partly why also it's such a challenge, because it challenges so many aspects of the nerves and the muscles and all that communication in the body. So let's prepare to go to the other side. The back foot in position, the front foot. Put your chair in whatever position you're going to put your chair in. Then you're going to push your feet into the floor. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen as you add flexion at the hip. Keep your head up. Lengthen and add that flexion. Feel that tension coming in. Take your hand across the chair. Push your feet into the floor. Find that length in your body. Find that hand on your trunk. Keep your weight in your legs. And if you are going to come down onto the block, you can try that to see if that's available for you in your body. Press your legs into the floor, press your feet into the floor. Find that length in your trunk. Rotate, rotate, rotate. If you'd like, the hand can be on the waist. The hand could be out at the side. Or if you take the back of the hand onto the sacrum, sometimes that allows people to get a little bit more opening in their spine. So do what feels appropriate for you. Push your feet into the floor and breathe. Make sure you're breathing. Don't hold your breath. Connect to your breath. That'll help to balance your mind and help with balance because it'll keep you in the present moment. Take one more breath. Go ahead and bend your leg. Let's bring yourself all the way up. So we have one more standing pose to do. That's the tree pose before we come down to the fan favorite, which is the Shavasana. So let's find our single leg balance. I think that this tree pose is something you should do every day of your life. I call it vitamin T, as in tree pose. And I tell people they should do this 3 to 10 times a day. So anytime you're just standing there, which is often throughout our day, finding this balance pose can be so profound every day to work towards strengthening your pelvis, your hip, your leg bones, so this whole area. And then the aspect of balance for fall prevention and fracture prevention, which is really important. Okay, have your feet pointing straight ahead and have them hip distance, which is closer than you think. It's not the width of your body, it's hip distance. Then you're going to push your body weight onto one foot and bring yourself onto the opposite tippy toes. Stay nice and tall. Make a strong, firm foundation with your feet on the floor. So make sure you have that nice, strong foundation, that connection. And take your knee out to the side. Bring your foot in between your ankle and your heel. Wait, bring the foot in between your knee joint and your ankle joint. Make sure it's not on the inner knee. And then nice and tall, lengthen in this pose. Feel your weight even on your feet. Take your hands on your waist, shoulder blades slide towards each other. You could come into arms to the side or up to the sky. Make sure you don't lose the integrity of the upper spine. Keep the shoulder blades on the back of the body. That's where they belong. Press your big toe into the floor. Feel the dancing and the movement that's taking place in your ankle joint. Lengthen out of that side of your body. And then let's go ahead, bring your hands together, bring your knee forward and bring yourself down. So I have the chair here if you need it. So for those of you that do need it, it's important to have the chair there. So keeping ourselves safe, and especially when we challenge ourselves in the place of balance, because this is an area that many have issues with and becomes very important when we're speaking about bone health, because bones don't just fracture because they have low density or they're weak. They fracture because we fall. So balance is a humongous part of the practice of yoga for bone health. Let's take your body weight over to your foot, whatever foot you're choosing to be on this time. Take your tippy toes, knee out to the side, bring your heel. Why can't I get this right? Bring your foot in between your knee and your ankle joint. And then firm foundation of your foot in the floor as you bring yourself up into your tree pose. Find that support, lengthen your spine, contract your core, feel the foot on the floor, press the big toe in, evenly distribute the weight in your foot. You could put a slight bend in your ankle if that feels better for you. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. The arms can go out to the side. Choose a point in front of you to focus on, something to focus on. Even if there's movement in that thing, find the center of that. Find a focal point to focus your mind, to focus your eyes. Contract your core, get nice and tall. Be okay with whatever dancing and movement's taking place in your body. Last breath. Bring your hands together. Bring your knee forward. Bring yourself out. Let's go ahead and shake, shake, shake. Let your body weight go side to side. See if you can do, let's take your hands in front here so that you're getting this action where the hip goes forward, up and back and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Your feet are on the floor. This is a little bit of pelvic release, moving the pelvis in some of the ranges of motion, getting a little fluidity in your body. And then see if you can go in the other direction. So you go forward, up. Make it be slow. See what feels okay for you here. You're loading up your hip. You're loading up your knee joint. You're getting your obliques and your core really to help move the pelvis in the way that you're moving your pelvis now. And then go ahead and shake, shake, shake. So we'll come into the favorite pose of many, which is the Shavasana pose. For Shavasana, you'll need a blanket. And if there's anything else that you'd like to add, you can add whatever you'd like to add. Take the blanket, put the blanket on the floor, placing the blanket on the floor, then we'll come down onto the floor to do the Shavasana pose. Remember when you come down onto the floor, remember you come down with, And remember, when you come down onto the floor, that you're bending your hip, you're bending your knees, you're keeping your back flat. So however you need to do that, if you need to transition and have a chair there to help you get down to the floor, make sure you're always moving safely and with intention and awareness in your body. That's a very important thing. So you're gonna bring yourself onto the floor, coming to the side, reaching your hand away, bring yourself all the way down, ready for your Shavasana. This one will hold for a little longer than 30 seconds, letting everything go, coming into your complete Shavasana, letting yourself go.
Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bringing your awareness into your body, noticing how you feel. And then bend one knee at a time, and then the other. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Rocking side to side, giving yourself a low back massage. Feel that top edge of the pelvis as you rock back and forth side to side. This can feel nice. Rolling onto your right side, cradle your head in your arm, allow your body to find this position. Take your hand in front of you. Press the hand into the floor so you turn on all those muscles that are going to push you up away from the floor. We're going to close the practice with sound, so come into a seated position of choice. Going to close with Om, blending the Ah, the O, and the sounds, which is the breath coming from the lower lobes, the middle lobes, and the upper lobes as it leaves your body, and that's the sound that it makes when it comes through the mouth. Om. Take your hands together, thumbs touch the sternum bone, nice and tall, lengthen the spine, lengthen the back of the neck, slightly tucking the chin down towards the chest. Take a deep breath all the way down to the belly. Bowing in Namaste. Namaste. So that is 12 poses that have been in a study since the early 2000s with over 150,000 hours up until this point of practitioner hours. And there is a shown improvement in DEXA score readings of almost 1 whole point. So that will take people out of osteoporosis into osteopenia, or those that are in osteopenia all the way back into no bone density issues. I've experienced this myself in the years that I've been teaching this since 2014. In many of the people that I work with have had better bone density readings. So practice either the whole 12 or some of the poses so that you could create that stimulation in your body for bone health. All right. So I don't often get to do the whole 12 because I spend so much of my time doing all the other foundational aspects of the practice, and I don't always teach those 12. I'd love to see how you're feeling with doing all 12. Oh, yes, Cindy, I did. I had a great time in Yosemite. So if you're not on my email distribution list, my newsletter, sign up for that, because starting on Saturday, I'm going to do a 12 holiday tips. I'm making little videos for you, little tidbits of information to practice throughout the holidays. This class, actually, I'm going to be teaching next week, because next week's the last class of this session, and then I'll have 2 weeks off, or 3 weeks. So it's important to keep up with the physical asana, because what's happening in your body is degeneration of muscles and bones. And so we need to work against that and do the opposite to keep ourselves strong and healthy. All right, let me see. Lots of texting here. Great. Kathy, how are you? Yes. So Dr. Fishman said that in his program, people practiced almost daily.
And so every day your body is degenerating, because if you're over 35, that's what happens or could potentially happen. So wait, that's what will happen if you do nothing. And then if you do something, that won't happen. So every day something, and that's why I like to learn little, maybe a warrior dance or do a couple of, that's why I say vitamin T every day. Stand in tree pose every day to strengthen your balance, to strengthen your hip, the top of your femur bone, work to a place where you can eventually look upward with your gaze, challenge, doing all of these different challenges. Yeah, nice to do all 12. Yes, Lynn, it is. And I'll do that again next week. Joyce, you're welcome. So thank you so much for joining me. Sign up for my newsletter if you're not on there already, because I'll be sending stuff out starting right away. Making all my little short videos now, and I made some videos for you in Yosemite, so you'll see some beautiful Yosemite in some of my holiday healthy habits. Thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jeannie, thank you. I just want to say something to Jeannie, and whoever else here is a sewer. I know Jeannie is. Jeannie, I found this, I don't know if you crochet. I know that you sew and quilt. I found this amazing website for crocheting, and they're making these mandalas, which are just, circular patterns. I mean, a mandala is a visual focal point in India. So she calls them, some of them, mandalas. Anyway, it's unbelievable. Oh gosh, I wish I remembered the name of it. But I think I'm going to try to crochet, and I haven't crocheted since I was like 10. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, all right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I'm here because you're here and you get me to be here. And so I appreciate you. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. Okay, Jeannie, I will. Bye.